All right. So we're doing an update with my mom here. And the last video we did, I think she was wearing the same shirt. We were in Fort Myers, Florida. And in the first video, I showed you the hurricane door that she tripped over on the fifth floor, which is that's the law that you have to have hurricane doors, which is a whole another situation. But what was the day that you fell?
March the 6th.
March the 6th. Now, that same day, my dad was in the hospital, at a different hospital in Fort Myers. So he's in one hospital. She fell down, broke her arm right up here. Kind of like where that muscle is. For those of you that got that muscle, it was right in there on the shoulder part. Was it called the humerus?
Mm-hmm.
The humerus.
It's called proximal humerus.
Proximal humerus. It just snapped it. And so one of the ideas was to do surgery, but they weren't going to do surgery that day anyway. And then Dad was in the hospital. We weren't sure what was going on. So Linda, my cameraman, is trying to find a condo where we could stay for another couple of weeks. And not only was there no condos available back in March, there was no hotel rooms available back in March. I mean, you might get a night or two. So we made the decision to just kind of lay low at the condo and then fly home.
Right.
So we're now talking 15 weeks later, or 16. We're now talking 15 weeks later, and as you can tell by looking at the scar, that's a new scar.
Yep.
And that scar right now is what, 7-8 days old?
It's about 8 or 10.
But let's just go with 10 days old, where they did the surgery, and how many weeks was it from the accident to the surgery?
Well, about 14 weeks, I guess.
14 weeks.
14 or 15.
That your arm was not connected.
No, my arm was broken. My shoulder was broken.
It never reconnected. So her arm dangled.
And hurt.
Obviously hurt. Multiple doctor visits, thinking that maybe it's going to grow back together. They never wanted to put a cast on it or anything else. So I know lots of people have horror stories. I know no one who's had a broken bone for 13 or 14 weeks that it just kind of dangles. And I know the doctors were doing everything and assuming that it was going to grow back together. And then it just never happened. And then once you make the decision to have the surgery, well, that's not going to happen tomorrow either. So then that gets scheduled out. But still, we were probably at a good 10 weeks before they scheduled the surgery. And then that was a couple of weeks later. Mm-hmm. And she told me, go ahead up here, pull that. She told me how big this scar was going to be. And I'm like, well, you're just old and crazy and you don't know what you're talking about. And then we went up to...
Yeah, you told me it's going to be a little...
Honestly, I thought you were looking at something about that big, and that big only covers that part.
That's my time.
And it's time for her to take her medication. So what I thought was only about a third, maybe an incy-wincy bit more than a third of where they actually cut. And did they have to go through any muscle or anything?
They cut a muscle half in two.
And that sounds like that hurt.
My arm was, you remember, gigantic.
I do.
It's still black.
It was not very... Now, I do have to say my mom is left-handed.
Yes.
And she broke her right arm. So, as far as getting lucky goes, that's pretty
Absolutely.
Pretty lucky.
I could ask for any more. I didn't break my neck either.
Well, and I thought you were dead, so again, for anybody that watched the first video, I woke up everyone in our condo complex, which was whatever, 7 or 8 stories, and I woke up everybody on whatever the east side of the other condo complex. And yeah, it was.
He wasn't going knocking door to door. That's not how it was.
No, I just screamed really loud, and it was kind of funny because a couple of days later, because we decided we were going to stay, and we obviously didn't want to leave the condo for any reason whatsoever. But I did go down to the pool, and there were a whole bunch of people their age kept coming up to me, and they're like, how's everything going? And I'm assuming that they're wanting to talk about you. And they only cared about me.
Oh, there you go.
Because they were the parents and I was their child also. And that, I guess, it was the topic of conversation, having a grown man scream like a little girl for help. I thought you were dead.
I know you did, but I didn't know that's what you thought.
I thought you were dead.
I thought you were screaming because I had screamed.
Yeah.
I quit screaming and he kept screaming.
You quit screaming when you hit the ground,
yeah.
And her arm was on backwards, and it was all you can't even do it without breaking your arm off to get her arm to do what it did. And then you were like, your eyes was bleeding and there was blood on it, and it was pretty bad, and I thought you were dead. And so yeah, it was pretty traumatic for me. I don't know how it was for you.
It was for me. Your screaming didn't help anything.
It probably woke you up. Yeah, you're not planning for an accident to happen.
Not at 9:30.
And right. No, it was at like 10:25 because Linda had gone to bed, and we were all talking because we were exhausted because Dad was in the hospital, and we were talking about going to bed. I was like, well, we can't go to bed. It's only 8:00 at night. Of course, it was the first part of March, so it was 30, 40 degrees here in St. Louis. And it was 75 degrees there, so I had the sliding glass door open. And you can comment, and again, we are not saying anything about the medical industry. I mean, everybody was so nice, and everybody was really trying to do the best that they could. But I know of no one that's ever walked around with a broken arm or a broken leg for 13, 14 weeks before the surgery part happened. I've heard of people having hip replacements, and then there's a complication where they got to open somebody up and kind of keep them like that for a week or so. And you were not opened up. It was still all inside. It was not a compound fracture. But it was
spiral.
It was a long
spiral.
Every single day. Yeah, spiral. She wants me to say spiral. It was every day was a very, very, very long day for her and everybody else that was trying to help. And she was so sweet and so appreciative, and she only got aggravated a couple of times and with us, but she knew everybody was trying to help. And your sister, go ahead and give your sister a quick little shout out.
I couldn't have made it without my sister and my daughter-in-law.
Yeah.
I mean, Diana was way above and beyond. She took me, I don't know how many times to the doctor, and so did Linda, my daughter-in-law. I mean, Diana, I don't know how I wouldn't have made it. I'd be dead. Brought
food, went shopping, helped with some of the laundry and different things around here. And
so did Linda.
And so did Linda. And then Dad's had doctor's appointments, and Dee Dee or Linda, everybody's.
Diana took him to at least 2 or 3 doctors.
Yeah. So it's just great that your sister lives so close, here in town, and everything. And I know you just got tons of friends that you play cards with, and dominoes or whatever that game is that you play, Mahjong. And so, but we're less than 14 days as of this recording. You're not going to go back to the doctor for another week or so?
July the 14th.
July the 14th. And then they'll start working on physical therapy and stuff.
He'll decide if I'm ready.
Yeah. But the coloring in your arm and everything looks really good. So, but anyway, it's amazing all the people that watch these videos. And when we did this one in March, and I showed it, we were still in Florida, because then your cousin drove.
3.5
A cousin from Farmington who lives in Florida, Dickie Lewis, he drove 3 hours
3.5 hours one way.
one way to visit with us, and that was just, I mean, I'll remember that for the rest of my life. That was so wonderful.
Me too.
But whenever I got back, I mean, it did not matter where I went. People I've never seen before, as well as people that I've known for a long time, were coming up asking about how you were doing. And you know, that's what's one of the things that's good about Facebook, is being able to do stuff like this. Because everything doesn't have to be divisive. We can do things that bring people together and educate people. And you know, I know a lot of people enjoy the videos because I try to keep everything pretty upbeat. But you know, if you're a high school kid or an elementary school kid, you can do your own science projects and stuff, and put it on video, and just do fun, neat stuff. And like the one that I just showed about where we went up to the museum in Boeing, man, that's just such an inspiration. I think if I would have saw that when I was 10 or 11 years old, I would have wanted to do something in the field of airplanes, be a pilot or a pilot mechanic or an engineer or something. And maybe something like this, number one, it might prepare you not to scream like a lunatic when your mom falls down, because then we had the firemen were awesome.
Yes, they were.
Was not impressed with the paramedics.
No.
But
Well, they couldn't pick me up.
But
so.
some of my best friends are paramedics, so I'm not saying anything against paramedics. I'm just saying those particular paramedics were having a bad day, is what we're going to go with. But the fire department guys were really
They just
awesome.
picked me up and put me on there.
Yeah, but you tried to sleep sitting up. It's sleeping with an arm that's just dangling. I mean, literally, I could have taken her arm and just pulled everything backwards, and it was just. This was a long 13 weeks.
Yeah.
Your being hurt was almost as bad as whenever I was hurt. When I broke my leg.
That's interesting.
It's just an exhausting process. Okay, it was worse for me when I was hurt than watching you get hurt, but it still hurt.
It was close.
It still hurt. So, all right. Well, again, this is whatever 15 weeks later. There's your update. Man, that's a wicked scar. There is no stitches.
They're inside.
The stitches are inside. The top part's just glued and taped together. So it's pretty impressive.
Did you
It's
tell them
very
to cut
impressive.
my muscle in half?
I did not. I did not give the doctor any advice whatsoever.
No,
But-
they did do it.
Oh, I know. I
Yeah.
know. Oh, yeah. We mentioned that they
Okay.
they cut the muscle.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, with that, I'm glad you're getting better, and we don't have to come and visit as often. No, we live in the same subdivision.
Oh, my.
We have to. This is my retirement program here. She gives me $5 every time I come help her do something. So, kids, you're going to get $10 when you help me out. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.